Hello, everybody. Lex the Gray here. Welcome back to part two of what I'm calling Zombie Infestation. This is part of the Lone Wolf campaign. We left off with the Lone Wolf against this remaining zombie right here in the corner of our map. And in between these episodes, I was thinking about a house rule. So I have been referencing the bestiary in the Savage Worlds book, Deluxe Explorers Edition, of course. And typically I would look at, the strength die, fighting die, parry, toughness. Here's what I'm thinking. Instead of usually having the book out like that, what if I were to combine a few things? So let's say, for example, the zombie here is a minion character, not important, basically an extra. What I call their battle die represents a few things. First, it represents how much they can attack with, basically a d6. So think of it as their fighting die, their fighting skill. Six, the most you can roll on a d6, is also their toughness. Parry is -1 of the six, representing their parry at 5. So again, 5 would be their parry, toughness is 6, and their fighting die, their fighting skill, is the d6 itself. Those three things would be represented by this single d6. That's what I'm going to try to do for our zombie characters. Now, what about other enemies who are slightly more powerful? Well, let's say a step up would be a captain character. Not the boss, but someone who gives orders to a smaller group of enemies. That would be a D8 character. 8 toughness, 8 fighting skill die, and 7 parry. Then we get into the big leagues. The D10 would be the bosses. They would be 10 toughness, 10 fighting skill, and then 9 parry. Anything above that, D12, D20, we're talking legendary. I'm thinking D12 probably would be the most because it's within the window of the D4s through 12s Savage Worlds typically uses. That's basically how we're going to try to simplify the enemies in this game. So let's get back to the battle here we've been dealing with. Now, our zombie here did cause a shaken for our character Wolf. So for Wolf to either spend a Benny to automatically get rid of the shaken or just do a spirit roll to see if we can shake it off. Now, if I recall correctly, it hasn't been too long since the episode prior, but I will do so anyways. I will reset his bennies to 3, so I'm giving a third one back. His spirit is a d6, so we're going to do a spirit roll to see if we can shake off that shaken. Sorry, I forgot to roll the white die the for the wild die. And that's a fail. He's not able to shake it, but he is going to attack. I will let him attack this zombie that remains. But it will have, I'm going to say, a -1, not a -2, not a -2, but a -1 on all actions, all trait rolls. Okay, so we're going to do a D8 for his fighting skill and a D6 for his wild die. -1. The 6 explodes, they both explode. Okay, let's track this. So we have a D8 and a D6, and we're going to re-roll those two. So a blue D6 and a blue D8. Or better yet, another white D6. All right, oh my gosh. Okay, so we ignore the wild die for now. The D8 explodes again, thus giving another. I need to use the enemy D8. Okay, so that is how much he got. Now remember, the parry of the zombie is 5 from the D6 I mentioned earlier. 16, we're looking at 22 total. So our target number is 5. Thus, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 raises, which here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give a ward a Benny for that attack and also an extra d6 for damage. So with our damage roll, we roll the 2d8s and the extra d6. And our goal is going to be a 6. Okay, so here's what we got. 7, 15, and a 1. 13 total. So our goal was 6. That's 1 raise. And remember, on this character sheet I found, it has this raise calculator. That's what I've been looking at off camera. So that's 1 raise, which is a wound. Thus, this zombie is deleted, is done. Okay, now we still have this shaken condition. I'm going to try to recall if we can, in between combat, while we're doing this exploration, if we can actually shake off the shaken. So I'm going to do a spirit roll. I don't recall if you can or not, but if shaken is actually considered after combat, let's do a house roll. I'll let him spend a Benny to get rid of the condition. So he is still in this corner alley where he somewhat backed into. And now he sees this crate here. He's thinking, well, perhaps I can climb on top of the roof of this small building to get a better eye on the area to see how many actual zombies are throughout this whole town, this small part of the town, I should say. So he's going to no roll required. This crate is about 4 to 5 feet. So he's going to jump up, climb up here, but the top of the building is a little higher. So he's going to have to use. I'm looking at my list of items here. I don't see a rope. So he's going to have to do a climbing roll to get up there on top of the roof, and that's a D4. So we grab a blue D4 and a wild die. And the 4 explodes, but either way, it is a success. So we do another roll. That is a 5, 6, 7. So it is a success. Okay, so success, he's able to climb up top of this building. Now, he is on top of this building. Let's figure out what he sees. I'm going to reposition the camera here to show a little more of the town itself. There we go. Okay, let's grab our one-page mythic and figure out what exactly does Wolf see. All right. 96. Strange. That works. That's good. I like that. 32. Fragrant. Oh, okay. Interesting. There is quite a strange smell that he's picking up, and it's throughout the area itself. And it smells like, I'm going to say, he's familiar with the smell, obviously, being around death a lot, but it smells like corpses. He can smell death. It's strong, too, especially as he got higher up for some reason. Now, when he is here, we're going to do a notice roll to see if he can spot any zombies further south of our position, of his position. So, move the camera just a bit here. And now we're going to do a notice roll, which is a d6 plus 2. So rolling a d6, two d6s, wild die obviously, plus 2, the 5 on there is a success. So let's roll what he sees. I think the last one-page mythic reference was to what he smells, but what does he see now? I want to keep building on what he sees on top of the roof here. Deceit, okay. 57. Modern, okay. Now, deceit modern. I don't know if the modern means the structures he's looking at, the buildings themselves, but maybe it's deceitful. I'm thinking that what he notices visually, something is off-putting about it. There appears to be a normal, the structures, the town itself appears normal, but it's deceitful because, well, he's been encountering zombies all around. So, as he's looking here, are there more zombies in front of him on the ground? I'm going to say 80% chance. That is that's a no. That's a 90. There's not. So for some reason, there are no zombies in this intersection here, this this location. So he was hoping to see more, or at least get a grasp of what's going on, but he can't see anything. Perhaps this building here is taller. This building here is tall. This building here is one story, etc. So he's going to climb back down. He jumps down, and I will do a climbing roll, which again was a D4 and a D6, the wild die. And oh gosh, probably shouldn't have done that, but yes. Okay, so he jumps down, he breaks through the crate that's right here on the map, and he is going to take a shaken condition for doing that. He remembers his shield is still here somewhere, so after falling through clumsily through the crate, I think when he did that, something was in the crate. I still want to go off the snake eyes, and that is going to be a snake itself. So he is startled after being shaken, kind of falls forward, catches himself, turns around, and there will be, I don't have a figure for a snake, but I will use this little red chip to represent a creature of sorts. So a snake was just kind of hiding out. It's a killer snake. Think fantasy. I don't think there's actually a snake, anything like that in the bestiary here. I'm gonna do a quick little gamber. Or actually, there is a snake. I'm very mistaken. So we have quite a few to look at, and we're going to use my battle die technique to combine a few things. So this venomous snake right here is a good choice. There's a spider. Spiders can always be used in the future. A constrictor. I'm going to say it's this one. So it's going to be this venomous snake pops out of the crate. That works perfectly. I'll keep that open, but I'm still going to be using my D6 method. So let's say it's going to be a D6 battle die. And because we interrupted it, we woke it up, it will have the first strike. So it's going to take an attack, and I'm just curious what its attacks are. So a snake has its bite. Okay, it has quite a few other things, but I'm not going to consider that for now. I'm trying to keep this simple and fast. So let's move the camera, something I often forget to do. Like there, should be fine. As long as you guys can see the dice and the character placement. Ignore this little party of zombies are off camera here. I'm going to move these out of the way so it's not distracting. There we go. We still have the GM chip, the GM Benny. All right, the zombie or the snake is going to attack first. Remember, we're shaken already. So it's going to attack with the D6, and that's a fail. All right, so it tries to bite, but obviously Wolf is able to avoid. Wolf attacks, but first he's going to do a spirit roll to try to shake off that shaking condition. 2d6s. And that is a success. The d6 explodes, and that's an 8. That's one raise, giving him what I like to call, that will lose the shaking condition. And I will give him this green chip. Actually, I'm sorry. I'll give him this small Benny. I've done this before. It's a +1 on damage rolls, or sometimes attack rolls, depending on the condition. That's a small Benny. That's all it does. It's just for either attack, but mostly damage rolls. It's a +1. It's not like a re-roll or additional d6. So now he is going to attack this snake, and that will be the d8 as usual with this longsword. He's still anxious to get his shield back, by the way. That'll be next. But dealing with the snake that popped out of nowhere, and also our wild die d6. And that's going to be, let's see, the d6, the d5 is the armor, is the parry, so it does hit. Now we deal damage. Okay, so the toughness is 6, and that's 7, so that is shaken. The snake is shaken. There we go. Now it's the snake's turn, and I need to remember to use the white chip to track whose turn it is. There we go. Now it's the snake's turn. Okay. The snake's going to attack. Ooh, 6 is a hit and also an 8. Okay, that was close. So our parry is 7. It landed 11. That is 1 raise. So it deals an extra d6 of damage. So basically we'll roll the same 2 dice. Roll for damage. 4 is not enough. Our toughness is 6, even though it's a little less than without the shield. Now it's our turn. Oh, right, spirit roll. So I almost forgot. Can I lose the shaken condition? Oh, that's a yes. Oh my gosh, that's a yes. I'm actually cheating here. Okay, so yeah, it loses its shaking condition, clearly. And just for that, I'm going to give the GM another Benny. All right, now it's our turn. We are going to, Wolf is going to just walk a bit to the right, take a quick little jump to the right, and strike the snake using his longsword as usual, his preferred weapon. We're rolling. All right, 5 and 6. The wild die explodes. Okay, so that is going to be a 9 off the parry of 5, which is considered 1 raise, thus an extra d6 of damage. Here we go. Okay, so we have 5, 5. So that's 10. Thus, the toughness of the snake is 5. That's 1 raise. So that is considered a wound, thus shaken and the wound. That is a kill. We finally cut the snake's head off and defeating it. Now, something strange though, he sees inside the case. This broken crate that woke up that snake. And what we're going to do is roll for what it is. Let's see, 73. Perfect, it says. I'm rolling 2 descriptors. Perfect. 68. Official. Perhaps a weapon, I'd say, would be in here. Now let's get our weapon list from the game and see what this is exactly. I'm going to throw a curveball here, but say it is actually a crossbow. He doesn't have a shooting skill. That's why I'm giving it to him. He finds a crossbow in this crate that broke. So let me write this down in our weapon list. So crossbow has the following statistics in the game. It's 15, 30, 60 for the range. The rate of fire for a crossbow is 1, which how many times you can use it per round. And then its damage is a 2d6, similar to a bow. There is no trait tied to it when you roll for damage. And I'm seeing if it provides any other notes. It does not appear so. All right, and we can use it because the minimum strength required is a D6, and that's obviously our biggest trait attribute is D8 in strength. Okay, so he finds a crossbow. Intrigued, he picks it up. It's in good condition. Surprised he didn't break it when he fell on it. But either way, he's going to walk over here and carefully check to make sure there's no other zombies, and I doubt it because we technically cleared the area, but are there any zombies? Let's say 30% chance, just to provide some narrative flair. 35, that, oh, 30, sorry. And that's a negative. There are no zombies. He hears something far in the distance, but no zombies here. He picks up a shield, and thus he has his medium shield is back in his inventory. This gives him a +2 versus range. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to follow that rule. I'll just say it adds a +2 to his toughness. Okay, we're back to 8 toughness. He picked up a shield that was earlier tossed and grabbed and tossed from a zombie, one of the zombies he was fending off. And again, this is the beauty of solo play. You can change the rules. You may get a lot wrong, but you can change the rules, adjust as needed, just to make sure that it works for you. That's all that matters. As long as it's fun for you, that's all that matters. Now, okay, so but he still wants to go this way. So that's our goal here. He still wants to explore and see potentially if there are anybody here, survivors, that he can help. One of his hindrances is loyal and he's brave, but he's arrogant at the same time. So we'll put the die tray here, and now he turns the corner, and since all that this very brief combat, did any zombies pop up? Let's say 50% chance. That is a negative 68. Okay, so it's clear. He's walking down the road here by himself, suddenly, until he encounters the following. Okay, he encounters 2 city guards who walk up and stop, seeing Wolf. Let's say Wolf was right here. They stop and pause, seeing Wolf. Let's figure out what their reaction is. These city guards, or I should say town guardsmen, pause. Let's see how they react. This is an action roll. NPC, okay, so that's them. That makes sense. 68. Again, I'm going to re-roll that. A different number, 28. Okay. Danger. Okay, so these two here are they're on edge. They are very defensive and are considered dangerous to Wolf. Now, luckily Wolf doesn't have a charisma modifier that would be a problematic here, but he's going to do what I believe would be either investigation or a notice roll. Then we also have streetwise. Let's do streetwise. So he wants to figure out who these guards are before they start talking. It's based on the first moment they meet. So streetwise. 6. Okay, so 1 dice explodes. Aces. 4. Okay, that's a 10. So that's going to be 1 raise. So not only can he easily tell that these are town's guardsmen, but they are obviously thinking that he is a threat to them. He sees it in their eyes. For some reason, they're very defensive. Wolf tells them to hold up. Let's see, how would he say this? Wolf maintains a shield and sword, but not in a more so a defensive manner, not like he's about to attack. Wolf says, "What's happening here? Why have there been so many zombies?" Asking the 2 guards. The guards look at each other in suspicion, and they don't talk to Wolf. They remain silent. They look back to Wolf, and I'm going to say they have maybe halberds instead of these spears. They grab their halberds. Let me figure out if that's a weapon they can have right now. I'm trying to see here. Um, let's say, you know what? I'm going to say they are spears. Halberds, spears, they're both on here. Let's say spears. Okay. So they tap the spears twice on the ground as they take this very organized posture, stance. And when they do that, Wolf can hear somebody walking from further down here. The town's captain enters the story. He approaches between the two guards. They step aside, and the captain walks closer to Wolf. Does Wolf recognize this individual? I'm going to say 25% chance he does. He does actually recognize it. Takes a bit, but Wolf for a moment hesitates, but then he recognizes this captain of this town. So let's get some context here. I haven't really mentioned much about where we are in this tabletop episode. Typically, Shadowscape was done, or now I should say Lone Wolf was done in the map here, in the hex crawl, though not hexes. So we got to figure out where we are. I almost forgot about this thing. I have to remember this is actually still part of the campaign. So we left Shadowscape some time ago. The bandit camp was somewhere in this area here. Now we are down here in the Deadlands. This, well, judging by the same terrain I've drawn here, geographically, it appears the same. I'm going to say this little town is going to be right here off to the side. So this will be our 7th location. I'll put a 7 here. And up like that. And this town is called Barmont. Right here, number 7. So we are basically right here. It's slightly off the main road, but not too, it's obviously just within a mile. And the captain here, he is an old, let's say not friend, but not necessarily an old friend, but an old acquaintance of our character Wolf. So I'm just preparing to write some details down. Okay, just building some details here between recordings. Barmont has a slight zombie infestation, and we have become the involuntary, uh, let's say, one second. Sorry, I had a phone call. We've become the involuntary exterminator. And this individual here that we just met, he is a wild card. His name is Captain Schroger. So Captain Schroger is very surprised to see us here. And basically, he's wondering why we're here in the first place. Let's say he's an old childhood acquaintance. He perhaps, maybe not childhood, but when we were younger. We just generally know each other through passing. Somewhere, somehow, we know each other. We don't have to go too deep into that. But basically, he inquires about why we're here. Wolf says we got distracted by the zombies. We were on our way up north. And during this conversation, there are at least a few dead zombies behind the Wolf. And the captain notices this. He kind of leans over to the right, and so do the guards. They keep close to the captain. Captain Strogan says, "Did you do that yourself?" Good. Obviously, Wolf has some blood on him, just from the zombie guts. Wolf kind of turns his head and looks to the dead Zombies and says, yes, that was me. Clearly, there's a problem here, and I was the only one who can do anything about it. Now, the captain, the guards, do they have blood on them? Have they been slaying zombies left and right? I'm going to say 75% chance. That is a yes, 60%. That's a yes. They have been also dealing with zombies. Now, they have been perhaps in this area of the map, off camera here, my character sheet is. While we've been handling the kind of the northeast quadrant. So the captain walks up to Wolf. He extends his hand out and he says, thank you for the help, but we've got this. Wolf shakes his hand, but kind of with a tight grip, he says, are you sure? Because I've been counting zombies in the alleyways and this main road. There's clearly a problem here. What happened? I think Wolf is generally familiar about this town. Maybe he was coming here to get some food, perhaps. The captain says he turns back to the guards, and with his back turned, he says, it's none of your concern. We recommend you leave now before it becomes too dangerous. Wolf says, with kind of an ego or arrogance, however you want to think about it, with the hindrance, he says, I was hoping to get some goods here, but obviously you need my help. The guards, they approach Wolf with some intent. The captain raises his hand, the guards stop. Captain turns around and says, we clearly have this handled. We recommend you leave before it gets ugly. Wolf says, is that a threat? Suddenly, while we're chit-chatting, a zombie breaks out of this building here and enters the picture. And so does another one. The guards turn into a battle formation. The captain backs away. Wolf naturally turns towards the zombies. And thus we are in an encounter. Okay, so let's figure out who goes first. We are kind of on our own side here. So red is obviously going to be the enemy. Blue is going to be us. And I will be controlling the temper, well, if they are allies of us. So rolling through these sixes. Oh, it's a tie, so we're going to do a re-roll. Okay, so the zombies go first. All right, let's get a white chip. Represent who goes first. This zombie with a pace of, let's say, -2 from the d6, a 4, which I think is actually the pace anyways. Walks up to Wolf and attacks. With the d6, as I mentioned, 5. Our parry is 7. That's a miss. This zombie attacks the guard. I'm going to say the guards are also d6s. Besides the captain, he's probably going to be a d8 once we get to him. So the zombie attacks the guard with a d6. They're extras, not the captain. 3, that's a miss, with a 5 parry. Now it's Wolf's turn. Wolf's going to attack this zombie with his d8 and d6 wild die. That, oh, okay, at least it wasn't a critical fail. That's obviously a miss. The captain laughs as he sees that. This guard, whoops, the captain does a barrel roll. The guard's going to attack this zombie right here with his d6. All right. Actually, he's going to go blue. He's an ally. Well, as far as we know. Okay, 5 is actually a hit. Thus we roll for damage. 4, that's not going to hit. D6 is the tough. 6 is the toughness. That's a miss. This zombie is, or sorry, this guard is going to approach this zombie and attack. 5 is a hit. Damage. Okay, 5 is not enough. The captain is going to, let's say the guard moves out of the way, kind of breaking the rules here. The captain lunges at showing off his skills. He is a wild card, so he gets a wild die. He's also a d8. 5, 4. That is enough to hit with the 5. Now rolling for damage, which is going to be a D8, and let's say the weapon he has is, let's say he's similar to us, to Wolf. He is going to have 2D8s. 4, that's not enough. The zombie, obviously, it does not hit a vital part of the zombie. Okay, now we're back to the zombies. The zombie attacks the captain, who attacked him. 4, that's obviously going to be a miss. Carried out. And then this zombie is attacking the guard. 3, that's a miss. Now it's Wolf's turn. Wolf's going to attack the zombie here. Oh, okay, now I'm not allowed to get rolls today. So that's going to be a miss. Now it is going to be the guard's turn. He kind of steps closer to the captain, and he'll attack with his D6. 1, that's a fail. This guard is going to move up closer to the zombie to get between the captain. Rolling for attack, that's also a fail. The captain, using his spear, is going to attack with his D8 and D6. I just realized, maybe for weapon damage, it's double of the attack die. We'll just do that. Okay, so 1 explodes. This is the attack roll that explodes. 6, all right, so that's going to be 14. Zombie's toughness is 5 in my rolls. I think it's 5 either way. Sorry, parry. So that's going to be, let's see, that's 14. So 5, that's 1, 2, that's 2 raises. So he gets an extra D6 of damage for the following roll. Oh, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm going to re-roll. I didn't use the wild die. Okay, so I'm going to say he hits, but no raise. I'll just correct myself there. So no raise, just a standard attack. 7. That is a shaken condition. The zombie has a shaken. All right, now it's back to the zombie who's shaken. He's going to try to shake it off. Let's say it's going to be a, let's say it's a D4. Just for the moment. 2. That's a fail. Okay, but he's going to attack with a -2 modifier at the captain. That's obviously a miss. Next is this zombie. This zombie is going to turn to the captain, try to rush him, pushes through the guard, and is going to attack with a D6. Ooh, that's explosion. That's an ace. So we're going to do another one. All right, that's an 8. So the captain's toughness or parry is a 7. Again, very similar to us. So that's a hit, but no raise. Now it's going to do the damage roll. 6. Ooh, okay. 2. That's 8. That hits his toughness. So thus he is also shaken. Right there. Okay. Now it's going to be Wolf's turn. Wolf is going to go from behind, which gives him a +2 advantage in my book. And thus we're rolling for attack with a +2 on this roll. That's going to, okay, we get explosion. So we keep going with the D8. Oh, another one. Yikes. Okay, now I need a red D8. Okay, so that's going to be 16, 18 +2. That's 20 on the attack roll. All we can do is I'm going to give I'm going to give Wolf a bonus Benny for damage for doing that, because you can only get a 1d6 on attack, a 1 bonus d6 for any raise amount. Now we're rolling for damage. The 2d8s for his longsword and the weapon itself, plus a d6. Okay, so we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 of the toughness of 6 is 2 raises, thus this zombie here is gone, slain. Wolf sees that, or Captain Strogan sees that, and now it is the guard's turn. He turns to the currently shaken zombie and rolls with his d6. 2 is not enough. Okay, now let's say we're on to this guard. This guard steps off to the side to attack that zombie. 5 is enough to hit. Now we roll for damage. 3 is not enough to do any damage. Okay, the captain has to do a spirit check. I'll give him a d6 for this, like we have. Wild die. I keep forgetting about that, I think. 3, that's not enough. He's still shaken. Okay, but he can't attack with a negative modifier. So let's see, d8 and a d6 the wild die. -2 on this roll. Okay, so 4, that's not enough. All right, now it's back to the zombie. The zombie with a -2 or has to do a spirit roll. We'll do d4, and that's a fail. Still is shaken. So, oh, that was a blue one. Either way. Now the zombie attacks the captain with a -2 modifier due to being shaken. 5, that's a 3. That's obviously not enough to hit. Would have to ace. Thus, it's back to Wolf. Wolf jumps behind, but as he does, he feels an immense power coming from inside this building. A strange pressure, like it's crushing him. And because of this, it makes Wolf shaken. It's some strange force is feeling pressure as he's literally within 5 feet of this structure here. But he can still attack. It's bothering him, but he's still focused on fighting through because he's brave. So he feels fear. And because of that, I'm going to do a fear test for him being brave. What would this be on? I'm going to say it's a spirit roll. So 2d6, I'm going to make this up. If I am here, we're going to do a fear test. Let's say this is a spirit roll. D6 plus 2. If he can get rid of the shaking. So it is a spirit roll, essentially. Okay, so the wild die, 6, 7, that's enough. He shakes it off. He shakes off that shaken and continues to attack the zombie. But remembering this, that there is some strange force coming from inside this building. He's going to attack that zombie from behind, which gives him a +2, because it's a sneak attack almost. 5, 6, 7. So 7 over the parry of 5 is a standard hit. Now we roll for damage. And that's 15. 15 with the toughness of 6 is 2 raises. Thus, this zombie is vanquished, which means the encounter is over. But Wolf quickly turns to the doorway, and the guards start to also feel something. The captain is going to do a spirit roll to see if he can shake off that shaken. I keep saying that, but it's true. Put these dice off to the side. Now, let me focus the camera a bit more on this part of the map. Probably should have done it the whole time. All right. So now, I'm going to spend a Benny on getting rid of the shaken, just to move the story along. All right. Now we're down to 1 Benny for the GM. The captain notices the guards are mesmerized by the amount of pressure coming from this building. Wolf looks to Captain Strogan and nods, or he points to the doorway and whispers, "There's something in there," to Strogan. Strogan appears very overly confident. He's going to tell the guards to remain in position. He tells Wolf to stand back. Wolf just kind of stands right where he is. The door is bursted open, but there's a dark shadow. There's no light because it's nighttime. I forgot it's moonlight right now. Kind of a bluish tone in the air. He's going to walk towards the door here, the broken door. And as he approaches, a large, shadowy hand grabs the captain and tries to pull him in. Like the shadow from the ground grabs his feet and tries to pull him in. So what he's going to do is we need to do some kind of resist here. This would be I believe, an attribute roll. This most likely is going to either be spirit, vigor, or smart, or not smart, agility. Trying to see which one would be probably perhaps survival. I'm looking at my list. I'm going to do survival. So D6 with a wild die. Okay. 4. That's enough. So he breaks free, takes some effort, but he jumps back. The guards jump up in front. They're very brave. The wolf gets us the captain. And as they're standing at this doorway, this guy pops out. And as he steps out, the crew jumps back by some strange force, at least 3 to 4 inches on the map here. It's perhaps 10 to 15 yards. They jump back to see this conjurer, this strange cloaked undead that's holding a globe. So clearly this is going to be a magical enemy. And now we are in our final encounter for the episode. I'm going to keep going with this one. This is the finale of Zombie Infestation. Okay, so what is this guy going to be? How difficult will he be? I'm going to try to put him at a D8. This will be his difficulty. So again, D8 for fighting skill, at 8 for toughness, 7 for parry. Not the most impossible, but he's going to be tough. He's equal to Wolf in difficulty. So let's roll to see who goes first. This will be a regular D6 roll. Opposing rolls, we go first. Wolf, being the main character of this movie, he's going to take the first strike. Let's see what happens. Wolf jumps in, is going to strike this individual, this strange cloaked undead magical being. So we're going to roll our D8 and D6. That is a ace. And this will be a wild card, by the way. We roll again. 3. Okay, so that's 9, 10, 11 over the 7 is 1 raise. So we get an extra D6 for damage. So we roll 2 D8s and a D6. 4, 5, 6, 7. That is not enough. My gosh. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend 2 of my mini bennies, which are going to be +1 damage each, to this. So again, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, causing a shaking condition for this enemy. So he's shaken. Now, Shrogan is going to jump in because he feels jealous for Wolf taking up all the action, and is going to attack with his weapon of choice, whatever it may be. So D8 and a D6. I'm going to move this down a little bit so you guys can see it. It was a 3 and a 2. That's not enough. That's a miss. But you can spend the Benny to re-roll. And luckily, that's going to be parry of 7. That's a miss, unfortunately, so it's not a hit. All right, next is going to be the guard. The guard's, I feel like they're a little outclassed, but they'll give it a shot. 2, that's a miss. This guard is going to rush up and attack. 6, well, that's an ace right there, so you can roll again. That's another ace. Okay, so let's use the wild die to symbolize that. 12. Okay, so we have 17 total. 17 over toughness. So this is an attack, so 7. And we have, let's see, 17, so that's 2 raises. That's an extra D6 for damage. Okay, so here we go. Roll 2 D6s. Whoops. 5. Okay, so 6, 7, 8. That is another shaken plus a wound. 2 shakens equal a wound. Okay. There we go. Now it is this guy's turn. Okay, I'm giving him one special to do here for his encounter. This guy is going to lift his orb up and scream, causing a fear test for every character. If they fail, they will take shaken. All right, so The guard first will give him a D4, sorry, D6. He succeeds. Okay, next is Wolf. His spirit is going to be D6 with a wild die. Sorry, spirit roll I meant. +2 with the brave. That's a 6 total, so he succeeds. The captain, similar to us, he's also a wild card. Plus, oh no, he doesn't have a modifier. He's successful on the D6, the wild die. Now it's the final guard. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. He doesn't get the wild die. So 1, he fails. Okay. So the guard is also shaken by this and falls back. Okay, now it is going to be, you know what? He's going to turn to the guard. This will be an extra action. So negative, I'm going to do -1 modifier. I think it's usually 2, 4. I'm going to do -1 modifier. He's going to strike Wolf with, remember, he's a wild card. So D8, that's a fail. -2 either way, so it's a fail. Let's get a little closer here. There we go. Okay, now it's Wolf's turn, being the main character. He's going to strike this beast with our usual D8. Okay, so the 5 is, that's a miss. The parry is 7. So we're going to spend the Benny to re-roll this. Okay. Big money, 6. Okay, the wild die explodes. We're still doing for the attack roll. Ooh, 5, I'll keep that. All right. So that's going to be 11 total. 11 over toughness of 7 is considered 1 raise. Plus an extra D6 for damage. So 2 D8s and a D6 for damage. All right, we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 over the toughness of 8 is just 1 raise. So that's going to be, let's see, 1 raise. That's another wound. Okay. Now it's the guard's turn. Guard 1. He attacks. That's a fail. Guard 2 is going to have to do a spirit roll. 3, that's a fail, but he's going to walk up and attack with a -2 modifier. That's a fail. Now it is the guard. Now it's Captain Schrogan's turn. He's going to attack. He's a D8 and a wild die. Okay, that's a fail. So back to our bad here, our big bad. He's going to attack because he's wounded. I'll give him a -1 per wound, so -2. He's going to attack Captain Schrogan with a D8, not that D8, but the red D8. There we go, which is right here, but this one kind of has a little transparency to it. All right, so 7, 4. The 7 does actually hit. Now we roll for damage, which will be, I'm going to say 2 D8s. Okay. Damage is 4. That's not enough. Obviously, his toughness is 8, like ours. Okay. Now it's going to be Wolf's turn. Wolf is going to jump closer to the face of the monster, pushing out the captain and the guard. And we're going to attack with our D8. And wild die, that's a 6 and a 3. The 6 is not enough to hit the parry of 7. So next is going to be the guard. The guard goes up to the creature and roll for D6. Attacking. 3, not enough. The next guard. Oh, spirit roll. 1, still shaken, so -2 roll in this attack roll. That's a 3. That's a fail. Schrogan, with the D8 and the wild die, is going to attack with his weapon of choice. That's not enough. Okay, so back to the big bad. What he's going to do is grab the captain and start to absorb his soul. So he grabs the captain by his head, but we have to consider this as an action. Can't just say he grabs him. So he'll have to do a fighting roll. But This will be, because he's so close, I'm going to get a +2 modifier on this. So we'll use the red die and a +2 modifier on the highest roll. Okay, so the white die explodes. The wild die explodes. That's a 10. +2, that's 12. So Captain Strogan, his parry is 7, 12. That's 1 raise. So extra d6 for damage. We're going to do the d6 and the 2d8s against Captain Strogan. And this will automatically put him into shaken, whether or not it hits, whether or not he deals damage. So 3, 5, 7. Not enough, but he is shaken automatically because of the attack that I just completely made up. All right. Now, let's get a little closer. It's going to be Wolf's turn. We'll see that. He sees that. He gets enraged a little bit. And we'll give him, because there's a little rage boost, we'll give him +1, just for the hell of it. Okay, so we'll do a d8, a d6, attack roll. Let's put it here so you guys can see it. Actually, it doesn't really matter where it goes at this point. Now, attacking. I rolled a 6 and a 2, +2 on that roll, with that little rage boost. That's an 8. So the 8 does click with the toughness of 7. Thus, we get a damage roll. All right. Now, that is 5, 6, 7. That's not enough. We're going to spend a penny to reroll damage, which I don't think you're supposed to do, but I'm going to do it anyways. Rerolling damage. And we have 8. Solid. That is a shaken, which I will say, let's see, what does a shaken do on top of a damage, a wound? Okay, I will say the creature is wounded again. Now has 3 wounds. That's his last chance. He has one more chance, one more wound, and he's gone. So now it is going to be this guard's turn. We're going to do a spirit roll for this guard. D6. 3. Fail. He's still shaken, so he's going to attack with -2 modifier. It does explode. That's going to be 9 minus 2. That's 7. And that actually does hit his parry. So now we roll for damage. 1. Of course, nothing. Okay. Now it's going to be Captain Strogan with the spirit check to shake off the shaken. 2. That's a fail. So he's going to attack with a -2 on either highest one. Okay, we do get a ace here. So that's going to be 14 minus 2 is 12. So 12 over the toughness of 8. That's 1 raise. So that's 1d6 damage extra. The 2d8s now. That's going to be, let's see, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9 damage over the toughness. All right, so here's what's going to happen. Technically, I think this, well, I'm not sure if I'm following the rules exactly, but I'm trying to just go with it here. This would defeat the creature, naturally. So I will say, because of timing, this does defeat the monster, whatever this is. So he explodes in a strange gas, sending our team flying back. Because this guard here is already shaken, he goes flying back. Let's remove some of those chips out of the way. Okay, keep that wild die nearby, and put the rest off to the side. All right, now this guard goes flying back against the wall here. He's shaken, so he has to do not a spirit check, but a vigor check to see if he can survive being tossed against the wall. I'll give him a d6 for this, because he's generally been considered a d6 character. 4, nope. Okay, so unfortunately, this guard gets impaled by a broken piece of a spike off the wall here. He's dead. Now, Captain Strogan gets tossed back onto the ground. There's nothing back here. He just falls back, like so. He's still shaken, so we have to do a, let's say this will be a spirit roll with a d6 and a wild die. That's going to be, oh, whoops, I forgot there's a D8 in there. That is a success. So he is able to shake it off and stands up, surviving that. Wolf jumps back. He has a shield. I will consider that. But he more so like a hero, like a badass he is, he slides back, thus not really taking any issue, not really any issue for him. But let's do a spirit check to see if it does indeed make him shaken. So this will also be 2d6. Okay, oh, it explodes. All right, even better. So we'll do another one, another ace here. Okay, 8. That's a raise. So what I'll do is give him an extra small Benny that will carry over into the next session. Usually in my house rules that any small bennies do not carry over. It resets like the regular bennies does. But for this, I'm going to make an exception. This guard, he's not hurt, but he gets pushed back onto his back and he has to do a vigor check for damage. Or if he takes any issue. 3, he fails, but it's 1 point less. I'm going to say he's just shaken. That probably would have been the result anyways. Okay, so he stands up, and that's where the combat officially ends. So this guard's dead. He's off the table. There's a big mist of smoke. As it clears, the wind comes by and blows it away. Now, the captain looks to the guard. The guard stands up slowly. He shouts, "Are you okay?" The guard nods, and also, seeing their ally is dead, the captain looks to the right and sees his ally is dead. The wolf walks up here, walks over to the guard, and closes his eyes, as you would. The guard walks back to Wolf, and he puts his weapon down. This guard slowly walks up. He's still a little shaken, obviously, but he thanks Wolf for the assistance on this. Wolf says, "What the hell was that?" And well, let's ask the Oracle. Does Captain Strogan know who or what that was? I'm going to say 30% chance, actually. He doesn't. He shakes his head. He says, "I have no idea. We were dealing with zombies all day, or let's say all week, and that's the first time I saw a bastard like that appear." So the Wolf says, "Perhaps the origin of the zombies is in that building." The captain doesn't really disagree, but doesn't agree either. Let's do a check for the guard who's still shaken, just a regular spirit roll. And 2, he still can't avoid it. So Wolf slowly walks up to the doorway. It's not pure darkness. There are candles set around here. And as he enters halfway through the doorway, we're going to ask the Oracle what exactly is in here. We're entering a strange room or building where the big bad came out of. So let's roll on descriptors. 2 of them, 45. Incomplete, 92. Small. So there was a ritual that was here. So picture kind of your typical Cthulhu or what have you mythos ritual, surrounded by candles. Some of the candles are put out, some toppled over, and there is a couple of dead bodies, and they look like they're fresh. So they just died, like within the last 10 to 15 minutes. And because of that, he sees that there's actually clothes, burnt clothes, with the closest body here, and then footsteps approaching where Wolf is. Wolf looks around, and he sees stuff like this. There's weapons. There's more, I guess more so potions and candles and vials. So he takes a step away, and he tells the captain about what he saw. The captain walks. The guard insists to go in first. The captain tells him to wait, and the captain enters the room. Wolf waits outside, looking around for any more remaining zombies, and I'm gonna say just for now there's none. So the guard falls over and dies. We're not really sure what's going on inside. the captain takes a step out and he says, clearly a ritual. Someone or something summoned that creature we just killed at the cost of one of my allies. This guard lowers his head, perhaps their brothers or friends, but doesn't obviously cry. Wolf says, well, Wolf thinks that whatever that ritual is doing was causing everybody in the village, in this town, to turn undead. So perhaps it was a spell gone wrong. So whatever was happening in this building was turning the entire town's population, most of it, into the undead. Wolf asked the captain, "Were all of those undead civilians, folk of this town?" And Wolf nods. I'm sorry, Schrogen nods. Wolf lowers his weapon in complete disbelief, because perhaps he thought these zombies were straight from a cemetery nearby, but he was actually killing the very towns townspeople who lived here, townsfolk who lived here, though they were already dead. So he was just making them dead 2.0. So the captain again walks up to Wolf and once again extends his arm, but this time more approachable. Wolf sets his shield away and shakes his hand with the captain. He says, "Wolf, I know we've had our differences in the past, whatever the differences may be." He says, "But I want to thank you for helping us at the expense at the loss of a friend. It's good to know there's still good people out there." He says, "For helping us, I will give you this." And we're going to pull the Zelda and just give him an item from our Dungeon Degenerates pile. Just trying to find the items here. I think it's going to be in this other box. One moment. Let's see. This will be loot, which I don't seem to have. I'm going to pause the video really quick. Okay. So the captain hands Wolf one item from his pocket, a silver dagger. He says this dagger belonged to the mayor, who was unfortunately taken by this sin. You can have it for your own. It is very valuable. Just take great care with it. And so Wolf accepts it and thanks once again the captain for his generosity and his help. So I'll add this to the inventory, and I'll also advance Wolf one step with whatever I choose to do. And that is really it for the episode. We will close it here. This will be our last time exploring, at least for now, the town of Barmont. A lot of areas in my world are really deadly. I'm just noticing now. Haxbury was, no, Dark Hollow was infested by dead spirits in my previous series, 2 series ago. But either way, this was quite enjoyable. I wish it was one whole episode, but I had to take a step away from the prior after the last episode. But I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.